Our problems have become more than it was. Poverty has assumed another level. Healthcare issues have taken a different dimension. And then there's even no loose money for us to work. And so we have to begin to look at ways of doing that. Then you also have the other thing of sustainability. Most often, those of us who go into communities to really change the narratives in the community, you finish working and it is like giving handouts. We're giving handouts to the community members only for us to realize that that is not sustainable. There are cases, and we have reached that point where initially, when I joined development, we used to say that teach people how to fish, but rather than, you don't give them fish, teach them how to fish. That was true then. Today, the paradigm has shifted. The narratives have shifted. It is no longer the issue of teaching them how to fish. So we see the transition. We have moved from giving them fish, charity, empowering them, teaching them how to fish. Now we have moved the empowerment to the next level, and that is where social enterprise has become very, very important. That level is teaching them how to own the pond. Because you are teaching them how to fish, the pond is not there. They go to fish and the pond is dried, it's finished. Now you have to teach them how to own the pond. So that is the whole idea around social enterprise. And so that is what we would be discussing as we move in the different ways that we have social enterprise. So I'm going to share my screen with you. Is the screen visible?
Yes, sir, it is.
Correct. Okay. So, social enterprise business model. Now, you can see from the picture that we have, or the pictures that we have, issue on the top, we're seeing an issue of kids in a garbage area, and that is poverty that has moved them into that place. We're seeing e-waste, and I'm told that Ghana, some part of Ghana, is the world capital of e-waste. But I know this is in a lot of our countries, we have these type of things. You go to Nigeria, in Lagos, you have this huge garbage area in the middle of town. You go to the Gambia, we have that. We go to the Burkina Faso, we have that. These are common sites that we have. We have young people at Accent with demand skills development. There has been this vicious cycle of accusation where employers are saying that the training institutions are training people without giving them skills. The training institutions are saying that, no, we are not the universities. Our job is not to give skills. Our job is to give that education. But in between, we develop skills. The young people are saying that, look, all these people we are not getting, we don't have the skills. You go for a job, you finish, and they're asking you several years of experience. And then when you even start working, they tell you you don't have the requisite skill. And so there's a whole lot of accusation around this. We have situations where malnutrition, where kids are dying, adults are dying because they are not really getting the right nutrients. And then we have the other side of the world, the other side of society, where there's so much to eat and a lot of it is thrown into the garbage because it then becomes waste. In all these things, the dots are not properly connected. So you have surplus elsewhere where people are throwing them into the garbage bin, and at the same time, you have shortage somewhere where the kids are not getting to eat and they have to go onto the garbage. And those who don't even have that luxury to go to the garbage to scavenge, you see them dying of malnutrition, kwashiorkor, and then that becomes that. So these are the problems. So food and nutrition insecurity, weak agricultural structures, poor yields, poverty, health and child care issues, environmental issues. So we're beginning to talk climate smart. And there's a Rio plus 20, Rio plus something. We are going to Egypt to talk about climate. We are going to Germany to talk about climate issues. Natural resource management, and then there's a mismanagement of it. A whole lot of our countries, we have people just mismanaging the whole natural resource thing. Overexploitation. And we can go on and on. Sanitation issues, unemployment, energy. A lot of our countries, it's a luxury to have energy. I'm sure some of you are having those problems where you have to charge your phones get to another place to charge your phone before you can even get access. We have migration, internal and external migration. So people are moving from the rural areas to the urban area. There's a push factor because the rural areas are not having the same amenities as the urban areas. So there's a pull factor in the urban areas. Then we have the external migration, where we finish school, we are not having the job, so a lot of us have to trek and go through the desert, and it is a very unpleasant journey to embark. I had an experience walking in just about a few hours in the desert, and it wasn't to experience it and to be able to design a program that will look at solving some of these migration issues. And it's not pleasant, but the young men and women trek and go through that. Skills gap. Some of us say that we want to even start our own enterprises. We want to start our civil society organization. And then they die after 2 years because we don't even have the funds. No policy, proper policy to really direct some of our issues. Now, what are the forces at work? What is causing all these things? Quite recently, we are having issues of Russia-Ukraine war. That has really turned the whole narrative. And sometimes when I sit down and I'm looking at some simulations that I did in 2020, when the COVID hit, and I was doing a review to be able to repurpose some of the grants that I was working on, it was very refreshing. The end game. And my end game in 2020 was that by 2023, if all the interventions that the medical teams were looking at would have reversed the situation by the third quarter of this year. I mean, the simulation show, and we saw it, it was really moving until bingo, somewhere the last quarter of 2021, signs were on the wall that Russia was going to invade Ukraine. And then what did we see in February? It just went on like that, pump. And it has changed the whole thing. We've gone back not to square one, but we moved beyond -1. We have problems with the donor country operating plans. They are either ending or they've ended. And they have to also reject because they are all being faced by all these problems. There's donor fatigue. They keep giving us money to do things and we are still at the same spot. And then I've just mentioned COVID-19. COVID-19 really brought a lot of things. I kept, in the review we did on the effect of COVID, our we're not looking at the deaths. That wasn't that was not. It was, we knew the deaths they could contain that, but the simulation showed that the economic recession was really going to be a problem, and we have seen it, and it was going to affect even the size of the port. However, even though it was a dark environment, we still have some bright spots. So there are a few emerging opportunities. And for us as civic leaders, young leaders, there are a lot of opportunities that have emerged. And for us, one of the things that we comfort us is that anytime we see all these things that we've enumerated as problems, we need to pause and look at them, not as problems, but we look at them as opportunities. All the things that we've stated as problems, with all the forces at work, they are opportunities for us. And it is until we begin to look at them as opportunities, we'll always keep giving the narrative as, oh, it is a hopeless situation. So in civic leadership, in social enterprise, the problems you see, the things you want to resolve are indeed the opportunities for you to capitalize and make some earning out of that. So given that context, social enterprise are non-profit or for-profit organizations. We set up with the idea of achieving double bottom line. Two things: we have to be financially sustainable, and we have to also be socially sustainable. So social enterprise are entities that we want to generate some financial returns and social return. In fact, the social return in the normal circumstances should outweigh your financial returns. If you move it into the business, so you see that there are a lot of businesses that have realized that there's money to be made out of this one. So a lot of them have set up, and it starts calling themselves, oh, we have a citizenship department, or we have a corporate social responsibility department. Over time, a number of them in the mining companies have transitioned them into independent organizations. So we have, for example, you take an organization like MasterCard. MasterCard is the corporate. MasterCard has set up a MasterCard Foundation as a social enterprise. Cosmos Energy started and set up the citizenship group, which was the corporate social responsibility department. They've hived it off and set up a Cosmos Innovation Center, which is a foundation. So for you are coming in not with a corporate, but you're coming in and setting up your social enterprise straight away. So you can see that there is a lot of pressure coming and mounting on corporates, and they're moving into your space. Initially, the corporates try to call themselves, oh, we are being very nice citizens, or we are doing socially responsible business. The pressure has reached the point where they are transitioning into this space called social enterprise. Unfortunately, our laws, we haven't really defined it clearly, and so everybody is doing one thing or another. If you take this, what we have displayed, social enterprise is that intersection between a charity organization and a business organization. If you do this Venn diagram, that intersection, that middle part, is what social enterprise does. So you generate profit, but you also rely on donations and sponsorship. And the difficulty here is that success is very difficult to measure because your lens is social. You want to be financially sustainable, but your focus is normally creating a positive impact. That's the social enterprise thing for you. Explained in another way, charity looks only at impact. Traditional business looks at finance first. When you are a social enterprise, you are taking issues from charity, issues from traditional business. And you are looking at impact first, but at the same time, you do not want to make losses. And typically, I mean, the ROI for a social enterprise may be around some 3%. ROI is return on investment. But you're not just looking at return on investment, you're also looking at a return on social investment. So that is where the catch is. You look at the models, social enterprise versus business, traditional business. Social enterprise, you see that it is social impact, community engagement, financial sustainability. Whereas business is looking just at their value proposition, their revenue model, and then their network relations. But social enterprise begins to combine all because you really want to impact the lives of people. And these are the different stages that you have your social enterprise, the spectrum. Traditional charity, and I'm showing you traditional charity, which is what we have always been doing, is pure charity, funding from grants, donation, and endowment. Then as they move, as though they are becoming social enterprise, and you have a few of them behaving like that, they get additional market-based revenue stream. And then they keep moving into the social enterprise space. And some of them begin to call themselves impact investors. And when they get into the dark or the deep green part, that is really the true to type social enterprise. Social enterprise true to type, the money that you make is invested back or reinvested into the cause. You don't share it, nobody takes it. So a typical example of a social enterprise is the cooperative movement. Whatever monies they make is shared to further the cause of that cooperative movement. Lately, we have these innovative financial products that we're using, village savings and loans. The village savings and loans associations are a social enterprise that are in the area of finance to mobilize finance within. So typically, some of the things that you guys can be looking at is that. So you have in a community, money is difficult to come by. The people cannot really get money. They can't even get the loans. Or when they even go to the bank to take loans, the environment or the bank intimidates them. So this concept of village savings and loans is people coming together, having their rules, and then contributing every day, maybe 1 kobo, 2 kobo, or 1 cedi, $1 as they move. And then over time, you can come and borrow from that, and they charge you an administrative cost. Now, when you see people in communities where I have developed in a number of communities where we've used village savings and loans to really empower young businesses, you would marvel that initially they didn't know that there's money within. And apart from the fact that they are getting money among themselves, it is also teaching them one other thing, which is financial management. They begin to understand that it is not everything that you have to buy. So they are able to know the differences then between needs and wants. So once you introduce them, that distinction between needs and wants becomes very clear, and they know how to save and use their money for that. So this is how social enterprise has evolved. From the traditional business point, they were pure business. And then we kept bashing them that you guys are doing your business in a very socially irresponsible manner, especially the mining companies. Now, over time, they say, okay, no, we'll set up a citizenship group or corporate social responsibility and the philanthropy. So we'll be giving handouts. But they are not, they don't understand, they understand how to spend money, but they don't know how to create impact. You sitting here today are the ones who are in that position to create that impact, because you know that, look, these are the problems. You know how to do community engagement. You know how to do sensitization. You know how to do community entry. And therefore, set up and you go to them and say, you know what? Give us the money and we'll create the impact for you. And that is how you should position yourself with your social enterprise. You become that entity that goes to take the money from them. 2 years ago, I did a proposal for a British cosmetic company that buys shea butter from West Africa. They've been buying the shea butter, but they don't really know the excruciating pains of the women who pick the nuts and process them. So this proposal was that, you know what? These people need capacity building. They have to create sustainable producer groups or business groups. So give us the money, we would do that. And they gave us what they wanted us to do. Said, okay, we'll give you the money. We want you to build warehouses for them. We want you to train them. We want you to link them to access to finance. And then we took it with our management fee as a social enterprise. And then we went to the communities that they wanted us to select. They gave us a criteria and we selected the communities and put up those warehouses for them. So that is how you rake the money from there. Now we have created these entities that are working, and therefore they would continue to make money. And that money that they make from the warehouses, when they rent the warehouses among themselves or to an external person, the monies that they make is recycled and they use to improve themselves. So we are doing and creating impact. So this is how your social enterprise works. The social enterprise, the whole thing is social enterprise, is community engagement. There's a market. It is mission driven. There has to be innovation. So you don't just create a social enterprise and then you're saying, oh, we cannot do this. You have to be very innovative. You generate profit. There's a passion. If going into social enterprise, you think that you are going to make and become a millionaire overnight, forget it. If you don't have the passion and you are not mission driven, you go and create something. The line between a social enterprise and for a profit is very thin. If you set it up and you don't take care, you can easily become a business. And that would defeat your aim because you are not creating the impact. And if you don't have the passion, you would go in and then you will get discouraged. A social enterprise that we created for young people, this was from the European Union, and we're supposed to set up a system that would not let the young people migrate to the EU. Or those who have gone to the EU, worked and made money, if they come, how do they get properly integrated in the community? So we went around looking at how to create a system. And then one of the areas, when we got to the community, the problem in the community was that the youth in the community, a lot of them engage in the cultivation of weed, a narcotic drug. And every day they have problems with the security. So the district authority said, look, if you guys are here to look at this, this is our problem. Now, what it meant for us was that we have to create that empowerment system that can give the young people the same amount or more money than they are getting from the cultivation of the Indian hemp. And that was a Herculean task. Now, one thing that came easily for us was that they could see money, was to create these small businesses for them to go into fish farming. They could see money in 4 months, just like the India hemp. Now, when we did that, initially, the river bodies we saw, and we're going to go in them to support the young people to create this fish farming with cages along. We were told that they were river gods, and so you could not go in there. So you see where you have. Now, because we have the passion and we are driven by that, so community engagement has told us that you guys cannot go there. We have the passion. We think that we can go there. So we have to be very innovative. And we were able to prove that, no, there's nothing in there. But unfortunately, after 2 years or 3 years, when the thing picked up and the young men were making so much money, what then happened was that they overstocked the river bodies with their fish. And then the fishes grew to a point and were starved of oxygen. So I was sitting down in my house relaxing on a Sunday evening when I got a call and said, there is trouble. What is the trouble? The fishes are dying. And thousands of fishes. Then you imagine you have to drive overnight to go there in the night and then to see how you could resolve the problem. You know, I mean, almost all the fishes died. We salvaged a few of them, and we took them to the laboratory to do to find out whether it was poisoning, but not poisoning, just the oxygen starvation. And once it is that, you can turn the fishes into something else. There's this dried fish. Those of you who come from fishing communities, depending on the way the fish dies, you can actually turn it into another product. It's edible. So that is your social enterprise. So we are resolving community problems through social innovations. And how do you do that? You have to address the neglected social problems by challenging conventional wisdom. So you see how we challenge conventional wisdom. They are telling us it is a no-go area. We think that it is a go area. They said, okay, we have to bring some drink, alcohol, and you pour libation. We said, no problem. We don't believe in what you are doing, but if that is what you believe in, you know. And then we created innovative business models, empowered the people, and then we delivered true sustainable solutions. So we did something that they themselves had to then carry on. And we go back to the community today, they have moved beyond the river bodies and creating fish ponds, concrete tanks, and tarpaulins in their homes and having the fish and harvesting and processing and exporting. And that is how you can generate your impact on people's life. You need multiplier effect. So, and you can see all these things. We're talking rubber, plastic menace. A lot of you have seen cases where young people have taken plastic and turned them into something. The last time, I think the guys from the University of Ghana, some people came out and...
Hello, Baba.
Yes, just...
Baba, please, your mic is gone.
Okay, can you hear?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. So those of you who are from the University of Ghana or no University of Ghana, right? The last time they said they had developed car engine or something that could use the plastic, the fuel. You turn the plastic into fuel. That is the type of thing we want you to challenge. Somewhere in East Africa, people have used plastic to build houses. And somewhere in Ghana, there is a company, Coliba, they have used plastic to manufacture different things. So it is your ability. So what you are solving here is sanitation, plastic menace. But you've challenged conventional wisdom that it can be done, and you can use it to impact people. What are you impacting? You're creating jobs. You are cleaning the city. You're reducing health challenges. That is the type of innovation that we are looking at in social enterprise. So your problem or how you do it is to identify the problem. And you have to be very careful. Sometimes we think that we've identified the problem. And we will come to understand that when we take another module in design thinking, we may think that we've identified the problem. But what we've actually identified is just a symptom of the problem. So you need to use very innovative design thinking framework to really identify the problem. And you listen to the people. And then you have to connect with the community. Now, there have been cases where in communities, you go there and then they say, oh, this community, they are not doing well. The people, or you go and you diagnose the problem. The community member, they need a market. And then you go, and governments have done that in our countries, build markets. And this market, nobody has really gone in there to sit. Those of you from Ghana, when you're traveling on the Accra Cape Coast Road, they are two communities. One community, it took them over 10 years before the women went into the market to sit. Government spent money and built the sheds, and nobody went in there to sit. If you move further into there's another junction, Apam Junction, that market pavilions have been there since. In fact, those pavilions were built when I was in secondary school, sixth form. And I'll drive into Cape Coast and see the market. Up to today, the markets have not been used. What it tells you is the diagnosis failed. We didn't really diagnose the problem. That wasn't the problem. There are cases where community members, and somewhere in the Bronx-Ahafo region, where they went and said the women were selling in a market, and it was a marshy area, waterlogged area, and built a market in a place. And then the women refused to move, simply because the connection with the community was not properly done. The area they had gone to build a market was used to be a cemetery. So if they had done the community engagement and collaborated properly with them, then you will be able to re-engineer and get the market done. A gold mining company decided to relocate its a community that was around a leach mine. Those of you who know gold mining, the serious gold mining, they normally have what you call the leach pond, where all the chemicals, when you wash, the chemicals go in there, and the chemical is poisonous. It has to be there, then you biodegrading, and then over years before they treat it, and then the water can join the normal streams because of mercury and other things. Now, this leach pond was taller than the community, became higher than the community. So they needed funds from the IFC. The IFC said, no, what you can do before we give you funds, we want you to relocate the community. So to relocate a community in modern day, for them meant that they had to build modern houses. And that's what everybody would think, modern houses. So you have the 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom kitchen and a toilet inside. And that is what they did. When they finished, these community members refused to move into the new houses. And their demand was that, first, they didn't understand why they should build a kitchen in the house, in the room. They also didn't understand why they should have a toilet. They needed a public toilet. The miners didn't understand. The community liaison office of the mining company did not understand. And so we went in there to look at the situation. We got the job to go and then do animation and then to get the community to move in. Now, when we designed and we went and started doing the community and animation process, then we realized that the engagement was not properly done. If they had done the engagement, they will realize that that small thing of a community toilet, a public toilet that they asked for, was very, very crucial in the survival of the community. Because the community goes there, the community toilet is an assembly ground for the exchange of community gossip. And they need the community gossip to survive. It's part of the whole community. And when they did that, it was very easy. When they saw that the community toilet was built, the people moved. So sometimes you need to engage the community and understand the community psychology before you begin to do that social change that you want to engage. Don't just plug something and go and dump it on them. Now, some of the examples of social enterprises in our part of the world. So we have Koliba. And Koliba is an enterprise that, or an entity that started like one of few. The Koliba is part of Yali in the earlier cohorts. They are doing recycling of plastic waste. They moved into other countries. You have Easy Solar as a social enterprise, pay as you go solar powered. In fact, in the area of solar, there are a lot of them. This is in Sierra Leone, where access to electricity is a problem. You have Steady Body, also recycling and waste management company in Southern Africa. You have M-Pharma, social enterprise in medicines, Ghana, and then they have been in Nigeria and in Kenya. Then you have another one, Farm Crowd. The other companies that you have in this area are Allura. Allura is I can't remember the exact cohort she was in, but it's a quite recent cohort that she was part of on this program. And she's a Nigerian, the Nigerian lady who tried to do reusable sanitary pads for women and ex-convicts or prisoners. And then I'll share with you some few slides later on that are on specific these social enterprises and how they set them up. Then we have built a social enterprise who saw the gap in really connecting the dots of social enterprises that you all set up young people, you don't have the resources to hire accountants. So Bill set up the platform to do accounting services as a social enterprise group. And they started in Ghana, they've moved into East Africa. You have Savannah. Savannah, amongst them, I think Savannah is a bit huge. They also is a company that started, social enterprise that started, and they got money to support farmers. And when they supported the farmers, they realized that Maureen, can you mute your mic? So Savannah, they got Maureen, please mute your mic. Okay, thank you. So they got funds to help farmers, and then they decided, instead of going to teach the farmers how to do marketing, they rather set up a social enterprise as a marketer to mobilize the produce of the farmers. And then when they sell, the premiums that they get on it, they share it to the farmers. So the farmer gets a certain price, and then when they also make the profit, they share them out among all the farmers that they bought the produce from. And they've been moving. They started with $500,000, and today the company size is about maybe 10 million annual, $10 million annual turnover. It is owned, or the brains behind it are some Dutch NGOs and their Ghanaian counterparts. So you have a number of these that have existed and have really done a lot of social enterprise. And so social enterprise can take any registration. Now, for us, and how do we really get our social enterprise? All that we need to do, and we're going to discuss, is summarized in this canvas. That when you are going to set up your social enterprise, what you need is to have a business model. Every business, everything that generates money must have a model. The model describes the rationale for creating the organization, how it delivers and captures value. So a model talks about how your organization is going to make money. Even if we're going to be writing proposals, we have to describe how are we going to make the money? What are the connections that we have to do to get money? If you take, for example, pickpockets, the business of pickpocketing, they have a model. How many of you haven't been picked before, or haven't heard of the story of pickpockets? And sometimes you're working in the market, Oshodi market, and then you hear someone shouts, "Guys, be very careful, but there are thieves around." That is part of the business model. Once the person says that, "Guys, be very careful, there are thieves around," what happens naturally is that people begin to either hold their pockets or begin to hold firm their bags. And by so doing, you are telling them that you have valuables. Or in the church business, there are different models that the church industry has. There have been a lot of new ones coming these days, and they tell you that you come to the church and they are not going to do collection. They are not going to do collection. However, you ask yourself, how do they survive? And some of them survive by selling holy water or cream or something like that. That is a model. Some people would also tell you that in our church, we are only going to be giving the tithe monthly. So every month, bring your envelope. That is the model. So you just sit down and reflect, and you begin to see the different models. And our social enterprise, you actually need a model to conduct your business. A model will help you to convert that big idea into practice. When you write it down, it helps you to analyze and see the gaps. Anybody who doesn't have a model, you stay behind the competition. Don't think that civil society, there are no competition. They are competition. You have competitors. And you have to have that model written down. How do we reach and serve our clients? No two civil society organizations or social enterprises are the same. They may all be in the area of child support, but their method of delivery will be different. And it comes because, or it is so because, they all have their business models. And it comes from you developing your canvas and putting in there. What is it? Social enterprise is all about people. Is it about the people? That's why we are there. We are working to impact people. And if you don't do your diagnosis very well, you may be impacting the wrong people. So you see the small boy and then the sumo wrestler. I mean, that's a mismatch. Define your problem or get what is the opportunity that you are looking at. And this is a very critical part of your social enterprise. You may think that you've defined the problem only to realize that you've defined is a symptom. Because you do it and then nobody really works with it. Many years ago, as a child, living with my parents, and I think I had this good friend, and then we decided that we were setting up our business. So I think we're either in class 3 or class 4. So we set up our business. What is the business that we set up? Our business was to sell cake. And we thought we could make money from selling the cake. Now we went and collected the cake from the baker or the cake maker. And then me and my friend carried our cake and went selling, and we went to the lorry station to sell the cake. For 3 hours, we were at the lorry station and nobody bought our cake. Then we said, okay, let's carry it around the community and go to people's houses. Now, instead of trying to look at areas where there's a demand for cake, we carried it and we're just going. The whole day, nobody bought the cake. Now, feeling shy and feeling that when we go back, we'll get the people, they will insult us. We had to use, I think we just convinced one of us, either me or him, and then we bought our own cake. So we had like a 10 peso that we had used to buy the cake. What this lesson gave us is that we were poor in defining the problem. We were poor in the solution. We thought that by going into those areas, we'll be able to sell the cake. They didn't need a cake. So if you set up your social enterprise and you don't define, in this case, the opportunity, then whatever solution you are bringing out would fail. And I've cited the example where people have set up market and nobody went to buy, went in to sell. The houses that people refused to move, even boreholes were sunk. People had issues with waterborne diseases, communities. People went in there to sink boreholes, and the community still refused to fetch from the borehole, but they preferred to trek like a mile or a kilometer to fetch water and back. Not only the distance, but they were even fetching diseases for themselves. The missing link here is that they didn't diagnose the problem very well. So you gave them the wrong solution. Or you didn't follow it up with education. What you can do in this case is normally to engage your community properly. So identify the stakeholders properly. Begin to understand them. And then you have to convince or influence them. There are some people within the communities who are part of or are going to benefit from the solution that you have as your social enterprise. Unfortunately, they benefit from the chaos, the existing chaos. So they like the status quo. And so if you don't identify the stakeholders and understand them, you will not be able to know these groups of people who are within the community and can sabotage. So we went to do a project for USAID, Natural Resource Management, in the place is called the Elephant Corridor, that transcends Ghana, Togo, Burkina, and Cote d'Ivoire. That is that corridor that the elephants move around. And we realize that occasionally the elephants go on a rampage and kill community members. But it's not the elephants' problem. The problem is that the community members destroy their habitat and attack them. So they always also revenge. So this was to find a way of letting the community members concentrate on their economic activity. But you cannot do that without giving them an alternative. And so when we did that, one of the things that we forgot was that there was already another stakeholder that was benefiting from that chaos, and they were also making money. It was also a social enterprise or a development agency. But each time there was a rampaging of elephant, they went and collected money and then they would distribute money. So that's how they were working. We didn't want the elephants to be rampaging and killing people. And so this group of people made sure that they tried to sabotage our work. And we didn't see early, if we had seen them early in the design, there was a design flaw in our work. Our design should have incorporated them and given them some part of the work. Later on when we realized that that was what we had to do, we went back to the donor and said, oh, let us retweak this thing. We need to get this other group of people to come. So your community engagement is very, very critical in understanding the problem, in identifying the opportunity, and getting your right solution to move ahead. So you identify the stakeholders, you draw your stakeholder management plan, you manage the stakeholder engagement properly, and it's all communication. And you have to control the engagement so that they don't hijack the whole idea into something that they do. Otherwise, you will never be successful in your social enterprise as you try to engage the community. Now, you would ask me, I mean, you waste your time to get all these before you start. No, it is as you start, some of this information, you can begin to do your desktop as you are writing your concepts, as you are designing, as you are traveling. Because yours is just to, you read the newspaper and say, oh, okay, there's this thing. So I can do some desktop research and begin to do that. One or two travels would let you understand what it is. And this goes even into your proposal writing. That you don't just get up and write a proposal sitting in the comfort of your home alone. You have to have information. Your social enterprise, what are the key activities that you want to do? What? Economic empowerment, advocacy? What is it that you're going to do? You have to state it clearly in your whole, your describe the most important things a social enterprise must do to make the model work. What is your value proposition or your theory of change? Every social enterprise is different. Everything that we're going to do is different. Some of the cases, you have to be able to have that there's the DNA. Once the people look at it, they know that this is the way these guys are doing their work. How different? What is the newness that you are bringing on board? How do you intend to impact that community? Because remember that it is not only you, there are a number of social enterprises, and you may, how do you sell that idea to somebody? So you have to have that and clearly state it in your model. Now, a typical example of a theory of change in a social enterprise. So this particular organization where I used to work, this is how anything, even if it is child, if it is a nutrition, if it's anything that we're going to do, this is the lens that we looked at things. We started with the donuts in the middle. So we're looking at developing capacity. We're looking at promoting connections amongst market. We're looking at improving business ecosystem. And we thought that by doing so, we'll create thriving market systems. And when the market system is working, then it means that we're creating a competitive environment where we have firms, we have businesses and industries that are making money. And when everybody is making money, we are going to have that new prosperity that we desire. So our topmost goal, the topmost goal was that everybody must make money. So each time we're looking at and we're going to measure impact, you ask yourself, how much, what has been the incremental profits or incremental incomes that people have made? We don't just say that we have trained X a number of people. So what? If you've trained X number of people, so what? The question we always ask everybody. X number of people trained, so what? You know. So I went to a meeting trying to engage an enterprise, an NGO that we want them, just about a few months ago, to engage them to implement the program for the government of Ghana. And then, so listening to them, can you sell yourself? Tell us what you've done and why you think that we should give you the money. And they started, oh yes, we've trained 3,000 young people. We have done this. Then I asked, so what? And they thought I was being very, my question was rude to ask, so what? No, my question, so what, is If you've trained so many, anybody can train people. But what we are looking for is that what is the outcome of the training? You train people, what was the behavior? In fact, if they had even told us that we train X number of people and X percentage of them had a change in their entrepreneurial outlook, I think we can live with that because we know that we are on course. We've trained so many people and X number of them have employed so many people. We can live with that. That's what we are looking for. So your social enterprise should not just be, yeah, we've done this. No. So I've set up a social enterprise. So what? What is the impact? How has that translated into the overall objective that for which you created a social enterprise? If it's about poverty, what is the extent of poverty that you've reduced? If it's about access, what is the extent to which people have had access to what they were not getting? If it's about people not being able to read, young kids not being able to read or improve or have a good numeracy skills, by your training, how many of them can do basic mathematics? By your training, how many of them can do basic reading up to this? So that is how you are looking at the theory of change. Is it different that you are bringing on board? The training, we're all doing them every day. But the effectiveness and how it changes behavior, all the things we are doing here and talking about social enterprise and people, we want to see behavior change. What is the mission? And the mission of your enterprise is, what is the purpose? Missions should not be changed. What do you live for? Do you live to eat or you eat to live? The old question that we kept asking ourselves as kids. A mission statement is unchangeable. It takes a very long time to change. You can't just keep changing your mission statement. What is the vision? The vision is that future, that ideal thing that you want to see. Unfortunately, it is that thing that you put it is more or less an utopian thinking that we would get there, but it's so distant. But some people are able to get there. Some companies said their vision was to put a computer on everybody's table. And in our lifetime, it happened. We have a computer on everybody's table. That's why some of you can even use your phones that have been turned into computer. I was just reading something yesterday where somebody in the, I think 60s or the 50s said, we'll get to the point where a telephone will have telephone in our pockets. And she showed the telephone. And today, we didn't just have the telephone in our pocket, but we even have it on our wrist. We can just strap it like a watch and the telephone is there. So you can see the way you should model your mission and your vision. That ideal that you're working towards. And then all these mission, vision are driven by your values. Any organization that doesn't have values, you end up collapsing because each one of us, as we are seated here and discussing, we all have our values. When we all meet, can you imagine the chaos that we will create when we all want to hold on to our individual values? All of us sitting here, we have different values. If we all want to hold our individual values, can you see the chaos? And so organizations and social enterprises, your mission and vision must be driven by the values that organization itself has. And that then becomes a point where all of us put our values on the table and we'll transact. We'll leave some of our values off. We try to merge, consciously, because we've stated these are the values. Integrity is our value. Collaboration is our value. Accountability is our value. Results oriented. So if you were coming and you were not results oriented, you have to be forced to have results oriented. If you are coming into the organization and you lack integrity, it means that you have to have integrity. You put it on the back burner and come. So all organizations, social enterprise, as we said, from the beginning, have your value set. Put them down. They will drive your mission and vision. And they make the organization, and they change, they become your DNA. Social enterprises have to be registered. This is a very debatable case where our laws haven't really come up clearly on the form in which social enterprises have to take. So our different countries are approaching it differently. We haven't really throughout. The people who have done a good job in this area, the British and the Americans. The British, somewhere in 2004, thereabout, came up with a law called the Community Interest Companies. So they created a situation where you register the social enterprise, the two tiers. You register it with the company house, and then you register it also as a social enterprise if you actually stated in your objectives or in your regulation that you're a social enterprise. And then you got some benefits for the social enterprise. Because a lot of the things that social enterprises are doing things that are public goods. And therefore, they need to get form of a compensation by way of tax waiver or rebates for that. Unfortunately, there isn't that. Now, there is a movement that is sponsored by the British Council for Ghana, and it started in Ghana, looking at social enterprise, and it's been created a policy dialogue, and they're influencing the Ministry of Trade and Industry to come out with a clear policy on social enterprise. So that is the stage that this one has got. And that movement is trying to move into a number of the countries where we have the British Council to really take that off. Because a number of young people are moving into the area of social enterprise because they see face-to-face problems that confront them in the community, and they want to change the narrative using social enterprises. So that is where we are when it comes to the legal and the regulatory environment for social enterprises. What, as a social enterprise, what do you need? It's a teamwork. You need partnership. You cannot make it alone. As you sit and we're talking, we all need to create alliances, cross countries, and then within the country or of the continent. And when you create that, there's a young man from Nigeria created a medical application to deal with a social enterprise to deal with maternal health, and most of the people that he's working with are not resident on the continent. They are somewhere outside the continent. A few of them are on the continent, and they are really working together as a group. Yes, Prince.
Okay, sir, you mentioned legal issues, and you were like, the law is quite silent on that. And you cite an example that 2004, an issue or law was passed concerning that. So since the law is quite silent on on issue of social enterprise and its activities, what are some of the legal issues an individual may encounter in the scope or space of social enterprise?
Okay, so yes, somebody was also asking. So what people are doing now is people are registering. Some are registering as not-for-profit organization. When you register as a not-for-profit organization and you are doing social enterprise activity, what then happens to you is that the government comes after you to tax your income because it is not an activity that the not-for-profit should do. In some of the cases, in Nigeria, they wouldn't even allow you. Once you start doing income generation, they tell you that go and re-register as a business entity. So for now, that is what a lot of the social enterprises are doing. Some are registering here and they are prepared to pay the tax. Some are registering as pure businesses, they are social enterprises and paying the requisite taxes. But because you are doing a social good, you realize that you're not supposed to be paying taxes if you were the other countries. So for now, you can choose to do whatever register as a not-for-profit, but remember that the revenue will come after you for that activity. If you also register as a business, revenue will come to you as the same. What we did and what we have been doing is that we take consultancies. We've registered as a not-for-profit organization in Ghana, and we take consultancies. In the consultancies that we take, when they are paying us the money, they deduct the taxes from it. And at the end of the year, we declare that income and we pay. So waiting until when the law is perfected. In my former organization, what we did was that actually went to see the commissioner of taxes and made a case so that any of the consultancies that we get, they don't tax us. So we have been able, you can do that. But unfortunately, we are at a point when the disruption in our revenue streams that the law has been changed again, where the commissioner cannot just give you tax waiver or tax exemption. So it's becoming more difficult now to use the approach when in my former organization, what we did. And we were able to go around with it. We just made the commissioner to write and we justified that the money we collected from the consultancy, the profit we made from it, we actually invested it in the communities. And we had evidence to show on all those things. So those are the other ways that you can do. But for now, we just have to live with the way the laws are and do our social enterprise thing. And keep now rather working with the British Council to push through that so that we can have a separate chapter for social enterprises. It's going to be very difficult, especially our legal regimes or the laws in Ghana and enforcement are a bit weak. And so people will see it as a way of revenue leakage. It's going to be difficult. But for now, I mean, we need to just all work together to see that we are able to do it. So we talked about impact. So you have from the beginning discuss and tell in your whole strategy what impact looks like. What is it that you are looking at? Like the two things we are seeing. The one is clearly a carrot. One is also a carrot. But what are we looking for? Are we looking for a carrot, or we are looking for the vegetative growth of that plant? So you have to, from the beginning, tell us how success will look like, how you measure success. Otherwise, when you see success, you wouldn't know that it is success. Let us tell from the beginning, this is what we will be measuring. This is what impact looks like. Now, if you don't tell people the impact, you don't tell people where you are going, then any road can get us there. So from the beginning, in your social enterprise framework, tell us the type of impact that you'll be looking at. I am going to look at jobs created. I am going to look at poverty reduced. I am going to look at incomes earned. I am going to look at employment of people who are employed. I'm going to look at new skills acquired. I'm going to look at reduction in maternal death, things like that. I'm going to look at reduction in malaria incidents. So you have to be clear where you want to get to so that you can know the road that will get you there. So these are the reasons why you even want to measure that. Now, if you don't measure your results accurately, then you cannot make a distinction between failure. You didn't also understand success. You need to understand success, and then you'll be rewarded. Otherwise, you'll be rewarding failure. So state clearly what success looks like. What does success look like in your social enterprise? So that you can reward it correctly. Now, measuring demonstrates results, and then you can win people's support. People will ask you, like the NGO I visited to profile them for a grant. And when they were talking, I was like, you want them to give you the money. Me, sitting here, I'm just coming to do a profiling and make a recommendation. But you haven't convinced me enough that your past can translate into a certain future that we are looking for. You want to create jobs. But what you are telling me, I'm not seeing that in the past you've been able to create the jobs. So you don't even know what you are looking for. So if we give you the money, no, you're not going to make any tell us, get us there. Now, so this normally is how you, and I'm linking this to your proposal writing thing on your results. So as you are writing your proposal, this is, you normally will have your logical, your log frame, which is normally written from top to bottom. So goal, outcome, outputs, activities. But when you are reading it, you read it from bottom up. You read it from activity, output, outcome, and goal. That's how you read it. But when you are writing it, you write it from the top to the bottom. I hope I'm very clear. And you have your indicators. So what success looks like, that is your indicator. And then means of verification. How do I, if I want to see the evidence that what you are claiming to be success, you really got it, I have to go to the means of verification. Is it going to be by a survey? Is it going to be by attendance records? Is it going to be by, what is it that we are going to look at? And what are the assumptions? Because you have to state all these things within a certain assumption framework. You cannot just leave it like that. And if the assumptions change, I can know that yes, it should change. So here, in the work that we did when COVID struck to repurpose grants, what we did was that we had to review people's log frames and make recommendations. In some cases, the guys were looking to, they were targeting 15,000 young people. And when COVID hit, we said, no way, you cannot reach that. So we said they should reduce it to 7,000, more than half. And we're being very generous. and it was realistic because we just didn't sit on our table and desks to know. Within the COVID hit on the in March somewhere. That's when a lot of the countries started their lockdown. I hit the field in end of April, and I looked more like a mad person. In end of April, just around this time or just after Easter. So in the field with my hand sanitizers in gallons, and then some of the hotels that you go and stay in for the last 1 month, 2 months, nobody has slept there. And maybe the day you got there, you were the only guest. You're there 3 days, It was scary, but they had the passion to do something, to change the narrative and to also help other people so that their businesses don't fall. And then the donors don't also call the money and take it. We needed to use the money properly. So you and then the assumption had to change because COVID has hit, so that is how you do. So the log frame is you use it to do your design, you implement with it, you do your M&E, you do what you call course correction. A lot of the time we don't do course correction. Course correction is you don't wait for the event to happen. As you move and you are seeing failure, you need to correct and find reasons why the failing is occurring so that you redesign the program. So the COVID intervention that we had to repurpose, we didn't wait for, this was a massive thing, so we didn't wait for the clients to be failing. So we jumped in to help them come out with a course correction. So by September, we had really gotten a clear idea what we needed preliminarily, and then by December we closed chapter. We knew that they wouldn't fail, and to help them come back, and then to get your knowledge management done, and it goes on and on. So the knowledge that you get, lessons learned, you use it in other programs to redesign and do co-creation for other social enterprise intervention that you have. So that is enough for your distance. So and then you need to do your monitoring and evaluation strategy. So I've shown you how it is read: activities, output, outcome, and impact of goal. Now, output and activities are the things that you can control. Outcomes and goals, you cannot control them.
Yeah.
Output and activity.
Now you snap. That waits for you.
Zainab. If you order output and activities, you can control them. So normally your donors will be holding you and your the failure or otherwise of your social enterprise is here. However, your effort is actually measured when we begin to interrogate the outcomes. The so what? Even though you cannot control the outcome, that is where, if you are really doing something very well, that it shows up in the outcome. So I keep asking, so what? Output, you take a box, taking off the box, and then when you take the box, it will show up in there. On your log frame, that line that divides the in between the output and the outcome, we call it line of manageable expectations. So the below that will you be held that you didn't use the money well. You can go and train people. You want to change behavior. If they don't change their behavior, so what? I mean, it's happened. But we only want to now interrogate, why is it that the behavior wasn't changed? Is it the way you implemented the program and the lessons learned? Was it a design flaw? Was the co-creation not properly done? That is where we interrogate, and then we look at new ways of doing the same thing. Who are your beneficiaries? And what are the relationships? sometimes we are going to implement a program, it ends up destroying the status quo or the relationship. We're going to look at kids, child rights, child rights. Child rights. In the end, if you don't manage it well, relationships between kids and their parents is destroyed. And you need to really manage that very, very well. We are going to rescue, for example, kids that are given out into child slavery to go into the ocean, dive into the ocean and the rivers to entangle nets. So you have the kids, we're rescuing them. But who sold them in the first place into slavery? Their parents. So there is an organization now, and I think that is my church, that is implementing a program in child rescue. And the last time I met, we're talking, I said, it is wrong. Your approach is wrong. They are interested not only in rescuing the kids, but they are interested in prosecuting their parents or the people who sold them. The moment you do that, the activity will go underground and it will continue. Or the communities that you are bringing these kids to reintegrate, you'll find it very difficult to reintegrate them in the communities. Or you will not even get access into the community to even fish out the information to know which kid was trafficked or sold into slavery. So you see how the beneficiary relationship management is very key and how you deal with it. I am of the view that you don't prosecute them, but find a way and look at the push factor. Why are they selling the kit for like 300 Ghana cedis or something like that, or $100? How do you, the channels that you want to use to communicate your activities, whatever you're doing, what are the channels? Field staff, internet, now we have Zoom. How can we engage the community on a Zoom? So it means that we did a giant TV. And in one of the programs that I implemented for John Deere Corporation, John Deere Foundation, what we did was that we got these vans and put in them, at the time, Zoom and all these things, I mean, were not really as popular as they are now. And God fitted them with giant LED televisions and had an internet service with all its ICT. So we could sit in the office and you will broadcast whatever you wanted in the van, and somebody is there, they drive the van into the community, and then at the community's convenience, either at night, they come and listen to what you want to do. And it was interactive. They could also tell you what they wanted, and you also see them on the screen. So the technology has made these things possible that we can reach our people in different ways, but we have to select the one that is more effective. It's like going to teach farmers and we're using PowerPoint presentation. PowerPoint presentation in teaching farmers is not effective. In some cases, they see it as a cinema, and then they don't get it. What is your target? Who are your target? Then you have to be very explicit. Are you looking at women? Are you looking at kids? So we can go in, and we have worked with an organization. I was doing some evaluation for a Canadian social enterprise. Their focus is kids. But kids, am I going to assemble all the kids and giving them that? No. Even though their focus is the kids. You pass it through their parents. So what is it that we want the kids? Is it nutrition issues for the kids? If it's nutrition issues for the kids, it is their mothers that we target. If it is child support, we target their parents. That will trickle down to the kids, but the focus is the kids. They can't send it. The kids are not going to school. Why? Poverty. So you cannot go, first instance, we can pay their fees, but that is not sustainable. We have to work out and make their parents make the money to be able to pay their fees. So you need to be very clear in the type of beneficiaries. What are the revenue streams? How are you going to make money from your social enterprise? Are you going to be charging? Are you going to do consultancy? Is there going to be a registration fee? Are we going to just be targeting only donors? We need to be very clear. And I would advise you to diversify your income streams. Don't rely on one income stream. Just like any human being, they keep telling us that multiple streams of income. The motivational speakers will be talking about multiple streams of income. As an entity, look at diversifying your income. Even if it is from donors, also make sure that you are not only taking it from governmental support donors. So when I say governmental support donors, let's say we are writing proposal and winning money there. We need to diversify the portfolio and take money from USAID, take money from private foundations, go and look for corporates who are intent to do something, the mining companies, the oil companies. So you need to diversify that. In the event that there is a shock somewhere, you have that. Many years ago, in this enterprise as we were working, we're trying to assess ourselves. We realized that our competitors, one of our competitors was taking about 90% of their revenue from the US government. We looked at our thing, and then we realized we're only taking 40% of our money from the US government. So if the US government decides to reduce aid, it doesn't affect us that much because 60% of it is coming from private foundation and other things. So you are balanced, and then other sources. So your social enterprise should be looking more at some of all these things, diversifying your income, including where you are doing and selling. If it's something selling to you, you need to even diversify some of your product. Who knew that COVID will come? That would change the focus of things. What resources do we need? Social capital, and it is the resource we often forget and neglect: social capital. All other capitals we can get, physical capital we can get, intellectual capital. That's what we are doing. Just the thinking, the brain power, the human capital. You can get the human beings to do the financial. We often forget social capital. If you get the right social capital, and the social capital is a network of people that you have, the friends that you have, your mentors. These are people who can connect you to places and unlock doors. So make sure that you have a balance of all these, and never forget your social capital. You need to know how much money you need to do all these things in terms of how to operate the model. Your fixed cost, your variable cost, your variable cost, and all that. In all these things that we are doing, you have to begin to look at externalities, the unintended effects, and who are the other people who are benefiting. Some of the times we do it without looking at the externalities, how your social enterprise is affected. A lot of enterprises a lot of social enterprises are struggling today because they did not have a proper assessment of externalities. And they, as a result, did not have a good risk management framework. You cannot do anything, any proposal you are writing, any social enterprise you are kicking off, make sure that you have a risk management framework. We shall be looking at some of those in the next modules that we'll be looking at. But these are very, very important. Have a governance system. Governance system is very key. And you would realize that some of the things that we talked of are all part of or influence your governance system. Your core values and mission has an influence on your governance system. The stakeholder influence, it has corporate social responsibility, ethics. You've gone through some modules in ethics, and then you have your corporate governance. All these things shape your corporate behavior. All these things come together to shape your corporate behavior. And what would drive all these is your corporate governance. So there's a need to have a board of trustees, a board of advisors, and that. So we set up a social enterprise. So I'm doing too many things. So a social enterprise in 2020, in the heat of COVID, that was to look at education. And what we have had is we have 15, we have a two-tier board. So we have 15 trustees. So the trustees are like the co-founders who brought the idea and then found it. Then the next level is now to have the executive board that works with the day-to-day management to really improve education in Ghana. And we're less than 2 years, so about 2 years. But within the short time phase, we've been able to get lots of funding. And it is because of the people we have brought together, the kind of core values that we have, and the credibility that we all put on the table. Our reputation is on the line. So the donors are looking at that and saying, yes, these guys are credible. We'll give them the money, and then they go and do things. I mean, the tickets and the envelopes that they've given us is, I'm really shocked that we were able to get those money, but it's because of the governance system that we came with. So that is how your governance will provide the legitimacy, accountability, transparency. Because if you don't have that, people will you go and take money and then you blow it. So good governance makes your organization accountable, transparent, responsive, participatory, inclusive, and efficient. You follow the law. That is what would make you, or will tell people that yes, this is a good governance system that you have. Never forget about having this system. So all that we have said is just summarized in these 4 buckets. What is your vision and theory of change? Where will you want to play? Now, what part of the problem should you work on, the rule and all that? How do you succeed? And what are the resources or the capabilities that you need? All that we've said about the model, this is what we summarize that into. Any questions? At this stage, I'll pause for you to ask questions. We need innovation, and that is a chaotic environment, but there's room for all of us to change the narrative. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any questions?
Yes, sir. Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, my question is about the business model. You know, you told us that a business model helps us to convert our business idea into a practical business form.
Yes.
And you said that when we write it on a canvas, it helps us to critically analyze the model and to continuously improve upon it. So what I'm trying to say, what I'm asking is, if, for example, you already did a model, and the model is not going as planned, it is advisable to rechange your model
Yeah,
in order for you.
yes, it's advisable as you move. As you move, you keep reviewing it. You have to keep reviewing, and that is why big entities would go for corporate retreats to go and rethink and say, no, what are we doing right and what are we not doing right? So in my typical work, I do my review per every business activity that I engage in. So if it's a consultancy, it's a particular assignment, after the assignment, whether we get it or not, the first question is we all sit down, all the people who got involved, we sit down and ask this question. What did we do right? And then what did we do wrong? Because you need to learn lessons, what went right and what went wrong, so that you can continuously improve. And then we update our model.
Thank you, sir.
Any questions? Anybody with any comment, any contribution on what you are currently doing, issues you're having, and how, let's talk about those things. Any questions? Comments?
It's okay at my end, but then say I will humbly suggest in our next meeting we'll make it a bit interactive. It was more of lecture method today.
Okay. Thank you. Since today is the first day, I just thought let me give you that, and then we begin to look at we'll digest. I'm going to give you an assignment. There'll be an assignment after this. How do I send you the assignment? Who is the class captain?
We don't have class captain, but I think the
We have a
host
group.
can get it and put it on our platform and also send it to our email. We'll get it.
So your platform, how do I get to your platform?
The co-host,
It's a WhatsApp platform.
will get it.
I'm not on it. So let me give you
Baba,
yes.
good afternoon. Please, I'll add you to the platform so that we can send it directly to you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So I'll send you this. I'll send you the other information, including, so you have this slide, but this is the assignment. This is the assignment. Using the business canvas model, develop a CSU or social enterprise business model of your choice. It could be a CSU or a social enterprise you are planning to set up, or one that already exists. So this is the assignment, and it will be subsequently, we'll be discussing it along, all the things that we'll be discussing will be along this. By the end of, you take this, by the end of the program, this should be the key thing that we have all developed. So think through and don't just do something because we want to do something that we are going out to implement. All the people on this program, what they have done, or the things that we did in the class, they all went out there, implemented, and made success. And I'm not sure Jasper has told you, but one, maybe if he has told you, I'm just adding, one of your member cohort from Yali, through this, improve their social enterprise, and the COVID, they were among the entities that received the highest honor in Ghana. And the highest honor, very few people ever get it in their lifetime. But this particular participant or leader was able to get to be given the presidential honor. In every country, there's a presidential honor. It's like if you're in Britain, it is called member of the British Empire or something of that. So you can see how it's not like we're just doing it for you as an academic exercise. We want you to go out there and use it to develop your businesses. And tomorrow, when I'm working, I see that your business is really thriving, and then you call me and tell me, oh, you got the award. And this person, I just early in the morning got a call, oh, Baba, thank you very much. And said, what is it? What have I done? Again, the government of Ghana gave us an award or honored us with the highest honor. So think through before you start committing your ideas on paper. And it's compulsory. It's not like this, you have to do and submit it to me. And I'll look at it and then we'll take it from there. Any questions, any comments? Any contribution? Comments? Are you there? Or you just put
Yes, please, we are there.
so any
Please, we are here.
okay. The other thing that I just wanted to also let you know is I think we came in later. A lot of us came in late. Next time, I think we should come a bit early. I want to see if this video can play. It's a social enterprise in Southern Africa. Let me see whether I can play. Can you hear? Is a audio clear?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Timbali is a non-profit company that has been setting up smallholding farmers in sustainable business since 2003. The hero of our short video is a visual map that will show you how the Timbali model works. As you will realize, you, our employees, and our clients are the heroes of the Timbali story this visual map explains. Louise, CEO of Timbali, says, I am excited to share the Timbali story with you, our employees, and our customers. Our vision is to be leaders in creating sustainable wealth for all in the agriculture and related enterprises. This picture then continues to our entrance gate, and the first people we invite onto our farm is our funders. Without the support of the public and private sector, our dream would not be a reality. We thank our funders who make this journey possible. What we do every day at our agri-parks and also in hundreds of off-site farms is to create an environment where farmers can learn how to farm, and to do so in such a way that it becomes a sustainable business. This includes our business development processes. Timbali's business development processes teach farmers how to manage their businesses, how to keep the balance between being a technician and an entrepreneur. We support them with sales and accounting functions, and we facilitate loans for them to ensure that they have the capital to start their businesses. We also do three very important things. We provide them with the correct technical skills and skills to use technology in their businesses. Clustering is one of Timbali's key success factors. We've learned that one small-scale farmer cannot compete with commercial farmers, but a group of small farmers can create buying power and share resources. Lastly, we provide infrastructure that the farmers can lease on site. We also help them with the research and data needed to be successful with their plants through fertilization, spraying programs, and picking methods. We also provide other services. Without a quality product, no business would be sustainable. The resources to do proper quality control are a challenge for small-scale farmers. Timbali provides quality management services to all the farmers in our network. We are Global Gap accredited, and this means that our pack houses comply with all the requirements of the markets and end-user clients. We have a pack house infrastructure that enables small-scale farmers to send their produce to the market, and we provide the transport facilities to the market as well. We one-stop support shop for a small-scale farmer. We have these on-site services in our agri-parks, and our representatives travel to other provinces to assist off-site farmers in their own farms. South Africa is a land rich with opportunities for farmers. The small-scale farmer on his own land faces a number of challenges, and we help them to overcome these challenges by virtual incubation. At least once a month, Timbali's technical and business coaching team visit our off-site clients. We provide training, quality control, accounting, sales, and all the services we provide for our on-site farmers. Our research has shown that the off-site farmers increase production and income due to our support. The farmers sell their goods at informal markets or directly from the lands for cash. One of the key reasons for the increase in their success, supported by our model, is the quality management and the access to markets. Our marketing and sales department's role as a connector to the outside world is very important in negotiating the markets. The market is critical. If you can't sell your produce, you don't have a business. Timbali engages and negotiates with large buyers, then sends the collective product of our small-scale farm. We assist with the collection of funds and make sure that they are careful with their risk management and financial planning. Timbali also facilitates bulk buying power and is free training from suppliers in the agricultural industry. Timbali has a holistic model and has developed a system that ensures small-scale farmers can be successful. All of our agri-businesses survive their first and second year in business, and we have graduate farmers who are in mature business.
Please, the volume is too down.
Such a colorful, busy, and complicated picture, and it is important for everyone who works with Timbali to understand that it is not one or two of these elements that ensures the success of Timbali.
Yes, please. It's okay.
Food security is a massive global issue, and we are not only addressing that, but also the issue of enterprise development, job creation, and poverty. If you want to understand more about our picture or have any questions about Timbali's model and service, please phone us on 013 752 4247 or visit our website www.timbali.co.za.
Okay, so this is a kind of social enterprise that is an incubation center, but this is an agribusiness incubation. You have a number of different types of incubations across the globe. This particular agribusiness center, we have a similar agribusiness center in Benin, where some of the leaders have visited in the past to see how it works. So you can begin to think about some of the things that you are going to do if it's an empowerment center, this type. Now, the good thing about this particular model that they are using, they fuse two things. They have the on-site incubation, and then they have the off-site. And the off-site is answering issues around remoteness and people who cannot access the center. So you can add modern things like some of the things that the youth like, pop-up incubation center. So they know that on this day, we are coming to do a training and then we'll go. But they are all part of the whole network of people you want to empower. They're just an example of what they have done. So the main business, the main social enterprise where they are making their money from is that they aggregate from all the smallholders and sell for them. And the returns they make there, they use it to run, and then the farmers also get their share of the money. So once the seed money runs out, they get money from there. The Benin one, which is in Porto Novo, what they also do is that they bring these young men annually or periodically, I think 2 or 3 sessions a year, and then they house them in there, train them. There's nothing called waste in that incubation center. Everything there is used. So they generate their own electricity, they generate their own gas from biogas, from the waste they generate. They have their own water, food, everything there is made from there. And then you have these young people who also are given skills to go back to work. I think when I went there, one of the things that the missing link I noticed, which anytime you have the time to go, we want to see whether they have incorporated that, is that people come for the training and then they go without being given starter packs. A starter pack is money or tools given to someone after training so that they can start their own empowerment business. So that is what this is. They are downsized to it. The starter packs will give to young people in Nigeria, in the oil, the Delta area. Whilst you are giving the starter pack to the young guy who has graduated, there's someone outside who is holding money to buy. So the purpose for which you give the starter pack would never achieve, because the guy sold the starter pack even before he received it. So that's the flip side of starter pack, and you need to manage as you start some of these programs to do your things. Any questions? Anybody who has any of this? And I think we've made up our time. We started 15 minutes after the time, and then I think we've made it up beyond. Any questions? And then we can call it a day. And then we'll meet on the, I think next week, soon after Easter. Any questions? Any comments? Upuku, you dropped. Any questions? Comments? Jasper, do you have any announcements?
No, Baba, I don't have any announcement. Okay. I'll add you to the group so that you can send the materials to them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So on this note, we'll call it a day. I wish you all the best.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.